It's the end of the semester and you know what that means. It's time to reflect. Hi, my name is Megan. Welcome to Teacher Talk, where we just sit down with a cup of coffee, or in this case today, a cup of tea, because I have been on such a tea kick lately. It's probably because of that tea advent calendar that we did during Vlogmas. But we're gonna sit down with a cup of tea and talk about all things teaching because the semester has finally finished and it's time to reflect. I am an English teacher at a university in China. I'm also getting my PhD in education, and I care all about helping other teachers teach English in a way that's fun and practical and engaging and valuable for students. I love asking these 9 questions to just reflect on, how did I improve? What went well and what did not go as well, and how we can improve for the following semester. So let's just jump in. If you're a teacher, you can go ahead and do these along with me. The very first question is, what was your favorite part of teaching this semester? And honestly, I can answer a couple of different things for this. I loved talking about culture more with the students. I loved that the students were taking listening a little bit more seriously this semester compared to last semester. But I think the thing that I loved the most this semester was how much the students opened up finally. I don't know what it was about this group of students, but they were just more reserved compared to students that I've had in the past. I did have these students last semester, and it's a little bit normal for them to be more quiet at the beginning because they don't know you yet. But when I came back into the classroom this semester, I was really surprised that they weren't that outgoing still. They really weren't that open. So I used a bunch of tips and techniques that I've gathered over the years to try to build more rapport with the students. I have a whole article that I wrote about this. I can link down below. And by the end of the semester, it actually happened. The students opened up so much. Students would just walk past my classroom to see if I was there, and then they would come in and talk with me, or they would stay after class to just talk and chat. Sometimes to ask some questions about learning English, or ask questions about their future career, or just ask questions about personal life. And it made teaching this semester so much more enjoyable because they finally opened up a little bit more, and we were just able to have a better relationship and better conversations because of that. I loved that this semester. Number 2, what went especially well this semester? I don't even have to think about this one. Without a doubt, super batching. Hands down. I don't think super batching is a thing. I think I made this up, but I did not make up batching. If you're not familiar with it, batching is the idea of putting like tasks together. So as a teacher, if you have to plan lessons and grade homework and do paperwork for the school and answer student messages, you will only do certain tasks at a certain time. So you will group all of your lesson planning together, then all your homework grading together. And the purpose of this is to avoid task switching. So you're not being creative and planning your lessons and then dealing with some paperwork and then answering students' messages. You're able to just focus and hone in on one task. But I took this to the next level this semester with super batching. Now, in the past, what I would do is I would set aside time for lesson planning. I have 2 or 3 hours. I would look at the lessons that I had in the next week and I would try to plan for them. So this semester, I had my freshman listening course, I had my freshman culture course, and I had my sophomore listening course. And I would just plan all 3 lessons for the next week. However, that wasn't really solving the problem of task switching because I was going from listening, talking about listening techniques and vocabulary, to how do I explain culture in a nuanced and clear way. I was going from freshman vocabulary to sophomore vocabulary, and I was constantly having to say, wait, is this easy enough for my freshman students? Is this too easy for my sophomore students? So this semester, I did super batching. Instead of planning all of those lessons at the same time, I just chose one specific type of lesson and I planned as much as I could down that one course. So I would take my culture class and I would plan as many culture lessons as I could. And this made it so much easier and so much smoother because everything I had just done was fresh in my mind. I remembered what we talked about week 1. So it was really easy to lead that into the topics for week 2, which was really easy to lead into the topics for week 3. When I was planning my listening courses, I remembered the grammar that we had talked about in the last lesson. because I just planned it, and I was able to review that again really easily in the next lesson. It just helped keep everything fresh in my mind. I feel like it made the lessons better, and it also made the lesson planning process smoother and faster as well. I will absolutely be doing this in the future. Question number 3 is, what was the most difficult part of this semester? I don't even have to think. It was definitely my foot. Around November, I dislocated a bone in my foot, and I kept going to the doctor and they kept saying I was fine. So I kept walking around on it. Spoiler alert, once we got the x-ray, we found out what really went wrong, but because it had taken a while to diagnose, it caused all these other problems. And so basically, for the entire second half of the semester, I was just in pain. And when you're a teacher, you have to be standing a lot. So I would just spend a lot of my class time trying to focus on the students and trying to do the best job I could, all the while thinking, I'm in so much pain, I'm in so much pain, I'm in so much pain. But if you ask me a teaching difficulty that I had this semester, it was definitely dealing with student motivation. The students were so much less motivated this semester, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. One is last semester they had me for the first time, so they were really excited to have an international teacher. This semester, that excitement kind of wore off. This semester, I also had a lot of classes at the very end of the day, so students were already tired. But I think the biggest reason was that there is a huge difference at our school between your freshman year and your sophomore year. Last semester, they were freshmen. This semester, they were sophomores. So they had a lot more serious classes. They had a lot more business classes, and they were a little bit shocked by the difficulty of the assignments and the homework and the pressure that they were experiencing this semester. So I just feel like I spent the whole semester trying to motivate the students. And I have, 10 plus years of experience, so I had a lot of tips and techniques I could rely on, but it does just take a lot more energy, and it's a little bit more draining for me as a teacher to constantly be trying to build up that motivation. If you'd like to see a video all about those tips and ideas on how to build motivation in students, just leave a comment down below or like the video. I definitely can do that in the future. The next question is, what changes can I make for next semester? And I think one thing I want to do is help the students understand more about how they can study by themselves and how they can improve outside of my class time. I only see the students once or twice a week, and let's be honest, that's not really enough time to really improve your English ability. And a lot of the students don't know how to study independently in China. Most of the education is very teacher-centric. Even when students are in middle school and high school, they won't do their homework on their own. They'll do their homework in the classroom with the teacher watching them. So a lot of my students struggle with improving outside of class time. So I want to give them more resources, more help, more ideas about how they can improve their listening and improve their speaking without me being there, without the native speaker being there, but also how they can do this alone as well. A lot of my students like to study independently, and how do you practice your listening and speaking when it's just you? I also want to add a little bit more about pronunciation, because during this last cycle of final exams, I noticed that my students were making some really simple pronunciation errors. Not to make it a huge focus for next semester, but to just add in a little bit so that way they can remove those simple errors. The next question is, how did teaching this semester reflect my personal beliefs and values? And if you're only going to answer one question, I really feel like this is the question to answer. I think one of the most important things you can do as a teacher is to decide what type of teacher you want to be. For me, I care so much about making English engaging and practical and actually having students use the language. But I also feel really passionately about helping the students become who they're meant to be and help them with their life outside of the classroom, not only related to academia. And this semester, as the students opened up more and more, there were a lot of opportunities for me to help them on a non-academic level. Now, I had one student who sent me a doctor's note and said that she was going to be missing the next few classes, and I could have just said, okay, thank you for letting me know, and just written that down on the attendance sheet. But one of my values is to help students thrive outside of just academia and outside of their learning. So I wanted to make sure she was okay, and I was talking with her a little bit, and she told me that she was on unaliving watch. and that's why she wouldn't be coming to class for the next few weeks. And she told me that she struggles a lot with depression. So I talked with her about that. I opened up about my own struggles with depression, and I told her if there's anything else that she needs, if she ever needs to talk to somebody, or if she needs any special extensions or exemptions, just let me know. Because yeah, learning a language is important, but nothing is more important than your actual life, your physical health and your mental health. I had another student who started to stay after class asking me for advice about how to pass some exams. Then he also started to open up about the fact that he had been physically abused as a child, and he had just started going to therapy, and therapy was bringing up a lot of things, and he was having physical manifestations of that trauma coming out. And so he was struggling with how to deal with all of this while also doing homework and completing assignments. And he said that a lot of people in his life and in his circle weren't really understanding what was going on, and they weren't really there for him. So he was asking me for advice about how to navigate these personal things and how to navigate dealing with personal things and also trying to keep up your study life. Another student who was a really excellent student just seemed really off the last like week or two, and so I pulled her aside and I was like, hey, what's going on? You're not as motivated as you usually are. And she told me, I'm still angry about this, she told me that one of her teachers told her she could never be good at English because her voice was too low. So she was really discouraged about studying English because her teacher told her it was basically useless. She would never be excellent at English because her voice was too low. Tell me how that makes sense. Native English speakers have high voices and native English speakers have low voices, and we have everything in between. And I was able to pull her aside and tell her that 100% absolutely was not true, and she could still improve her English and still be good at English if that's what she's passionate about, if that's what she cares about. And so I'm just really grateful that I had opportunities where I was able to help students in things besides just grammar, vocabulary, things like that. The next question is, what are some successes / what are some things that I am proud of for this semester? I'm really proud of how smoothly the semester went. When I first opened up my schedule at the beginning of the semester, I'll be honest, I was not thrilled. This schedule was just kind of chaotic, a little bit messy. It was a lot of different classes. Also, my school is going through a transition right now, so there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes with administration and paperwork. And I just looked at this semester and all the things that we had to do thinking, this is gonna be a mess. I'm going to be constantly stressed. I think the semester went as smoothly as it could have gone because of my systems. I'm so grateful that I already had so many systems in place that just helped me manage everything that I had to do, so that when I would walk into the class, I could just hopefully have the class go really smoothly. What are your fears for next semester? Oh goodness, I am so nervous about the textbook. We are changing our textbooks, and let me tell you, this next textbook is awful. I don't like it at all. I've never taught it before, but it is fully news focused, and I won't go off on this tangent, but I really dislike the overemphasis that a lot of ESL and EFL textbooks place on the news, because the vocabulary, the cadence, I won't get into it, but the textbook is not the best, and it's also really boring. So I know I'm going to have to work overtime to make the lessons more interesting, more engaging for the students, which is fine. I'm up for the challenge, but it really is not a good textbook. Not excited about that. The penultimate question is, what did I learn about myself this semester? I think last semester I answered that I learned that I can make a lesson really excellent at 95% of my ability. I would spend 2 hours planning a lesson and get it to like 95%. And then I would spend another like hour and a half trying to finish up that last 5%, like all the little details. And I tried to stop myself from doing that last semester because that extra hour and a half was not really yielding the most successful results. And I think this semester it kind of built off of that, because I was doing so much lesson planning this semester and I was realizing, hey, I really am making good, creative, interactive lesson plans. You know, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I mean, that is the question. What success did you have? I love lesson planning. I genuinely do. I mean, I'm getting my PhD in curriculum design because of how much I love lesson planning. And this semester, I just sat down during my like super batching lessons and realized, wow, okay, yeah, I can really get a lot of good ideas very quickly. And that has not always been the case. When I first started teaching, lesson planning was a struggle, but now I'm quite good at it. I think also I realized from posting online, just hearing your ideas and your responses and hearing your ideas in the comments, and so many of you said like, oh, that's a really interesting idea, oh, this is really fascinating. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, actually, yeah, these are really interesting topics. These are interesting discussions that I've built into my lessons. For all the lesson planning that I had to do this semester, I'm proud of the lessons that I created. They were engaging, they were interesting, they were also practical. And the last question is, what do you want to tell your future self? I think I want to tell my future self that all you can do is all you can do. This semester, there were a lot of times that I did feel kind of paralyzed by how much I wanted to teach the students and how much I wanted to do. I only see my students once or twice a week, and there was just so much that I wanted to teach them and so much I wanted to help them with. We just didn't have the time for it. And I can't change that. I can't change the fact that I don't like the textbook. All I can do is make the best lessons possible. I can't change the fact that my students have a lot going on in their personal lives. All I can do is help support them as much as possible when I do interact with them. I can't change the fact that I only see them once or twice a week. All I can do is make that time as efficient and as productive and as practical and as useful as possible. So I think I want to keep that in mind, shift my focus just a little bit. But that is the last question. Oh, honestly, it was a really good semester overall. There were a little bit of difficult times, but overall it was a very, very good semester. I really enjoyed getting to know the students. I think the lessons were good. The students really made progress, and I was able to see that by the end of the semester. So that was also really encouraging as well. If you're a teacher, I absolutely advise you to answer these questions or just answer some of them. I think it's so valuable to kind of know what you accomplished and what you want to focus on for the next semester. If you're not a teacher, maybe it's interesting to just hear about what teachers think about and what struggles they're facing and what they consider when they're planning their lessons and when they're looking at their schedule. If you'd like to hear more about what teachers are considering when they're in the classroom and how they make their lessons and their semester run smoother, you can check out my video that's 10 things I refuse to do as a teacher. I'll have it linked in the cards and down below. You can always check out the website, and you can check out this YouTube channel for weekly videos. But the 2024 fall semester has finished. I'm ready to go on winter break, but reflecting on this has also made me really excited for the next semester. So subscribe, like, follow along to see what we get up to next semester once that starts. And thank you so much for being here. Thanks for having a cup of tea, cup of coffee with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.